The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.
Welcome to How to Money with Cole and Cole.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Cole.
We coach people every day on their money and how to plan for the future.
As financial advisors, we're here to have an honest conversation on investing, retirement, and everything in between.
At Full Swing Financial Planning, we're here to empower you to take control of your plan, your way, for your financial future.
So let's talk money.
And sports.
Welcome back to How to Money with Cole and Cole. Bailey Ashbrook here, and it is October in Iowa, and this is the first week where it actually feels.
You love October, right?
I love it.
Well, when this drops, it'll be Bailey's birthday. Drops on Friday. Happy early birthday to Bailey. We're recording a couple days before then.
Yeah. Thank you. I love birthdays, not because it's about me. It's just like a reflection, look back on the year. I'm just a very deep thinking human being. But
what are you going to do on your birthday?
I'm going to wake up, work out, go get a coffee in silence. And then I'm going to clean my house because I always organize. I'm such a nerd. I organize one thing on my birthday.
It's kind of nice when you love your kids, but your kids go to school on,
You don't know this, but there's no school Friday, so I pawn my kid off on your.
Oh, that's all right. Oh, you know what? Chelsea was asking about doing. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I can have my kids on.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so we'll just hang out.
Dave plays well at the house, actually. So
he's a sweet boy. They're all sweet boys. Boys are.
He keeps Canton engaged a little bit, so because Canton can be
middle child.
Yeah, man, he's.
Collie last night, our middle child, it was so funny. There was a soccer scrimmage, U10, so it's older boys, and she's 6, and she was just sitting on the sideline itching to get in. She finally looked at me, she goes, "Can I play?" I'm like, "If Dana will let you," because she was practicing with them. She went in, and the other coach came up to her after the game and was like, "Sis, you were going." She was knocking some boys down. She was
That's
feeling
awesome.
herself.
I love it.
But anyways, it feels like fall. We're getting to the last months of the year. Football season, everything's kind of rounding out for everyone.
Yep, it's good. A lot going on, right, in the world. So what do we got today?
Okay, so I want to jump right into it because we were talking about this off mic. The Millionaire Mindset. Are you on track to be a millionaire? And which milestones do you need to hit to get there? And we talked about this. When you tell people okay, let's get you to $1 million, I feel like you get one or two reactions. Yeah, let's do it. Or two, there's no way I could ever be a millionaire. Do you feel that way? Some people really know it's attainable and some people feel like it's...
Yeah, it's definitely a mindset thing, I think, right? For a lot of people, obviously you got to have certain things go your way. But if you choose, you make that choice, hey, I'm going to have $1 million or more. And we don't want to limit someone, but
no,
it's definitely possible. But yes, you do get some people that are like, there's no way I'm ever going to get to that.
Yeah, and I think most people think millionaire equals high income earner, and only 31% of millionaires have actually earned 6 figures every year.
Yeah, it's really a consistency thing. And I think you're gonna hear as we go through this, the criteria of this episode, it's, a lot of it is just being disciplined, being consistent. And if you can have a couple traits and give it some time and be patient, it's very attainable. And it's when you start to really dig into the numbers, it's actually much more realistic than what people realize.
Yes, and it's measurable. We can measure this. So milestone 1, get out of the red. What does that mean, Cole?
Yeah, it's that first step when you're starting to look at your net worth or hey, where you're building is one, you got to start to try to pay off debt and really the poor debt. So, if it's whether it's credit cards, student loans, high interest debt, personal loans, it's really trying to knock all those things off as quick as possible. Yeah. Now, everyone's situation is different on why they accrue the debt, what it is, but that's really your first milestone is, hey, we've got to get a majority of the debt paid down so we can start investing in ourselves and investing for the future.
And I think this is more of a behavioral milestone, where you really lay the foundation. Okay, this is the behavior I'm going to have with money. It's not really necessarily because most people in this phase, they're not their highest income. It's you start a young family. I reflect back to when we had a negative net worth, which really doesn't seem that long ago. We were starting a family, all this, and we had, house debt, some student loan debt, and some car debt. And you're like, wow, this just doesn't feel obtainable. But it really is just setting the behavior okay, let's pay off the debt we need to do so we can invest futuristically to get that milestone.
Yeah. And it's, wild stat, 45% of Americans carry a credit card balance month to month. So that's a prime example, thinking, hey, we're paying interest on that, and say it's, $100 interest, whatever it is, that's money you're not able to save, right? So really it comes back to that basic, and we talk about budgeting all the time, is you need to have a grasp on your budget to get this first milestone checked off.
Because people want to jump straight into investing because they see that compound interest, but you got to remember, if you're putting away money but you're also accruing debt, you can't get to that net worth, right? You can't outpace 22% credit card or whatever it is, like
27 probably for a lot of people.
Yeah. So this is really when you start getting organized, emotionally stable, like you really organize. I remember this phase, like we really dug into like, here's what we owe, here's what we make, how can we pay this off, and then how much can we put away to the future. It's like really getting down to the traits of being organized and emotionally frugal.
I think one thing, the lifestyle creep right now, that's a real thing especially for the younger generation. I won't even say the younger generation. It's just
Gen Z, we're picking on you.
We're very like social creatures, right?
Yes.
But everyone's lifestyle just happens to, there's a lot of things to do. There's concerts.
Social media, I swear it's social media, because you see how everyone else is living.
Everyone's got to be doing something at all times. So it's really, if you're making that step of making this, a priority, or like, hey, I want to get to $1 million at some point, you've got to find a way to be, have self-discipline of like knowing, hey, I'm not going to get to do everything. There are some sacrifices, right? Unless you make $500,000 a year, right? Then it's different. You can change this.
We're just talking about the average.
Yeah, the average person that we deal with in our area, or medium incomes in the U.S., which will meet the masses of what we're talking to.
I think about just how much we're advertised and like subscription based. Like it's just a different.
Everything's got a subscription now.
Yes, and I tell everyone like,
oh, it's just $10.
Yes,
and then all of a sudden that's $12 the next year, and it's monthly, and you start to compound it. It's a compounding effect.
And I know some people inherit money, some people, but the average really doesn't. Like, it's okay that your life doesn't. I always tell people, when me and Luke were getting out of debt and we made that decision to be very conscious and have these goals, we didn't get to do it. We weren't going on vacation. We'd had made this conscious choice, like we're not going to do this or that. And Luke would bring his lunch to work every single day, and he would get made fun of every single day. I'm like, but they don't know what our goals are, right? They don't know where we're going. So it's like little steps to get you there. Yep. So this is get your house in order before you can build a mansion type phase. You know what I mean? Let's get that starter home just the way we need it.
I think a good thing to celebrate in this stage or this milestone would be, getting to zero.
Yes.
Right?
Like, we remember that.
Yes. It's like, hey, I got to zero. Now I'm starting to get, I'm going to start building from here. Right. And that might be paying off. You have all your debt paid off, but your mortgage,
yes.
right? And that's okay. And a lot of times the mortgage is going to be something people carry for a long period of time. It's part of, I would say, the status quo in the U.S. Most people will have a mortgage for a very, especially in their early stage of life, for 20 to 30 years. I
remember when me and Luke got to zero. I mean, this was a while ago, but I remember doing, because we were talking about this, I've had an Excel sheet since Damick was born, like when I got pregnant, I think is when I started. But I remember looking at it and be like, oh, negative net worth. And now I look at it, I'm like, that is so crazy how much can change when you're intentional with it's just little average behavior techniques. So, okay, milestone 2. We have talked about this on other episodes. It's very important. The emergency fund and liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, it's really everyone's staple in a financial plan. It's like your next step. Okay, I paid off some debt. Now, do I start saving, investing, or what do I need to do next? And first and foremost, it's your emergency fund and your liquidity, right? This is your first line of defense that when life happens, right? Mm-hmm. Life happens to us. I mean, all the time. Your foundation needs repaired, your furnace goes out, whatever it is. And
you need a roof because you had a hailstorm.
Yes, yeah. And you don't want to revert back to now all of a sudden you have to borrow money or put it on a credit card credit card because you didn't put some in an emergency fund or were disciplined to save some on the side. And that emergency happens and you have to revert back to you're back in the first milestone.
And when we say 3 to 6 months of living expenses, that means if you lost your job, could you cover your necessary bills for 3 to 6 months? And this all depends, obviously for people like me, I have 3 little kids at home. They depend, if I'm not working, we need a little more. They have school activities. There's just things like your mortgage and all that. So you need to know, if I lost my job today, do I have enough to carry that savings to cover it? Well, I figure life out.
We've said this many times, but a stat, 57% of Americans can't cover $1,000 emergency expense.
It just breaks my heart. Yes, I don't know why. Every time we say it, because it's it is a negative feeling, but also if people understood the power of just having a little emergency on savings, it seems like emergencies don't happen when you actually, you know what I mean? You're prepared for it. It always happens when you're unprepared for it.
So think of this, think of all the people you'll go to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks and you see all the cars in the line, and think of 57% of them, they're buying a $7 coffee, but yet they don't have $1,000 saved, right? So it's one of those things like we don't want to eliminate all the fun things in life. That's not what we're like trying to do, but it's also like you've got to pick and choose your battles. So like, well, when life does happen, because it happens to everyone, right? Everyone has those expenses that come out of nowhere, tires or something, or your kids do something, they break something, whatever it might be. And it's like, you've got to make choices every day. And those little choices compound to, hey, am I going to be able to attain this or not, or go, back when we're referring to the net worth side.
I always love this one. It's like, don't jeopardize what you want most for what you want now. So like, yeah, right now I want the coffee, but really what I want is security. And I just want to be able to enjoy the coffee because I know I have this emergency fund, I'm investing. I mean, it's such a short-term sacrifice versus this like, if you keep putting it off, it just compounds, right? Because the debt's compounding, you don't have emergency funds, something happens. But when you set yourself up for success and you have that cash emergency, it seems like you're really not, because this isn't like, an emergency fund isn't like, hey, I decided to go to a concert the last minute. It is like, we absolutely need these funds. I'm going to think about it. Can we cash flow this? Nope, our car broke down. We absolutely need these funds. It's not like a plaything, but I'm just saying the short-term sacrifice makes such a big difference.
There's a difference in your normal savings or your fund savings and your emergency savings, right? Your fund or your vacation savings, that's the money. Hey, do whatever you want with. And if you have the budget and the means to be able to put money in both, that's where that money should come. And the bigger those dollars are is whatever you get to choose to do. But if you're putting that, concert on a credit card, right? And like, oh, it's just $300.
I was going to make a Coldplay reference.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Sorry.
Poor people. They're still getting plugs for everything.
But most millionaires, and you would agree, they keep cash. Like they have some cash in reserves. I'm not saying it's either in a high yield savings, a money market. There's something. It's accruing interest, but it's fully liquid. It's not in an investment account.
It's such a valid and important thing to have liquidity, right? Yes, we want you to invest, but we also want to make sure that when something does come up, you do have
then you don't have to sell out of investments and panic.
Yep. And I would say most of the people that that we work with that have $1 million plus net worths, they have far more than 3 to 6 months in reserves. Now they might have their reserves a little more aggressive because they can handle the fluctuation of things, but they definitely have more than 3 to 6 months of ready available cash.
Yep. So Milestone 3, and I know you have like a good little projection on this, and I think it's really good. And a quote for this, the first 100,000. So what we're saying is you got your first 100,000 investment account. You've been doing the things, you're saving, you got the debt paid down, your first 100,000, go Cole.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those first milestones that, you really start to see, you can start to see the effects of compounding, right? And what I did for the sake of this podcast, we have a couple milestones that we're going to talk about. One's the 100,000 mark, and that's where we're at now. So what I did, I just was playing around with the hypothetical of using the S&P 500 index and saying, hey, how long did it take for someone and what type of systematic investment to get to 100,000? And then I broke it down to the percentages of, median house or average household incomes in the U.S. So I used ranges. So just to put it into, real context. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I said, hey, 1995, we had $10,000, right? Say we had $100,000 total. We took 10,000 of that. We invested in the S&P 500 index, and then we committed $400 a month from there on out. That's all you did.
So you started with 10,000. Now I'm dropping 400 in once a month.
So if you started in 1995, you had 2 really, really tough periods. I could pick a much better period where
but you wanted to be realistic.
Yeah, I wanted to be realistic. You had the tech bubble and you had the financial crisis, in this period, and you got to 100,000 in actually right before the financial crisis. So 2006, you would have got to 111 by the end of 2006, 111,000. So basically 10 years, a little bit more than 10 years, and all you did was $10,000 and $400 a month is all you, and you just passively invested. So if you put that into context of what that is, $4,800 a year, The median income in the U.S. for a married couple is between, depending on the region that you pick, is between 90 and 110,000 right now. So that's the average. So that's either 5.33% of your income, or
for the year,
or if you're making 110,000, it's 4.36% of your income. So that's what you're saving 4% of your income.
Which isn't that much when you put it into that. That's what you're saying. Like, listen,
that's what I want to be. It's a small
yes.
decision that you make, and you can just be disciplined. And I think of how quick $400 goes out the window in our household.
We know your DoorDash bill.
Yeah. I mean, I just think of that. I'm like, now, not again, it's relative to your income.
Yes.
I get that. But again, we're using averages here, and that's 4%. You're committing 4% of your income, and you can get to that milestone just by doing those two things right there.
And it's such the consistency of just automate. Don't you? I mean, I look at the clients in our firm and the accounts. It's the ones that are just doing it automatically that it is growing significantly compared to those who are like, oh, I'll drop it in when I get a chance, or if I make more, or I'll set it up in a couple years. Like the people who started and they're just doing that monthly contribution, it is so impactful.
We've mentioned this quote a few times, but I know Bailey does her quotes at the end of the podcast. But
I like it.
I had to print this off as I wanted to say this. So Peter will have to use a bleep because there's a cuss word in this quote. But this is from the great Charlie Munger, who's since passed away. The first 100,000 is a, but you got to do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere, not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on 100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit.
Yes, because now once you get there, it's this like relief. Like I can emotionally do it. Wow, look what I did. But your money is making money.
You're starting to compound.
It's working for you. Yep. And that's a really hard concept for people to grasp.
Well, you just think of like, hey, if I'm making 8% on $1,000 versus if I'm making 8% on 100,000, right? That's compounding. That's you go to 200,000, 300,000, you start to look at the math on there. You're getting the same rate of return, but the dollar amount is really getting drastically bigger.
Do you remember your first 100? Were you like 18?
I don't. We were talking about this. We each have spreadsheets of like, month to month, where Bailey's goes back further than mine. I switched what I was using.
My mother brain. Once I was pregnant, I was like, time to grow up.
It's cool to see and look back though.
I really wish, because if you would have told, I've always been frugal. Love you, Luke. He just wasn't a natural saver. And I think that's common, relationship. One person's naturally frugal and one's not. And I think that's statistically proven. But anyways, like we sit down because it's something about attaining it together. And I would say the first 100 is the grind years. Like you are grinding to get, the first 3 milestones, like you're getting to 0, and then you're building that emergency fund, and then you're doing all the things. Then, as you're doing these things, like your income's increasing. But when we look back at our Excel sheet, I'm always like, I'm astonished how much we've accomplished in 10 years. Like it's such a cool feeling to know we did it together.
Yep. And everyone's got their own way, right?
Yes.
That's what's, I know we're giving milestones and different check marks, and your number might be $1 million, it might be $2 million,
yes.
It might be $5 million, or it might be 100,000.
I'll just say in this perception, me and Cole are not on the same pace, and that doesn't affect one pace or the other. Nope. It's your situation. And I think everyone is in control of their situation. And I think when they realize getting to $1 million is obtainable and more, and hitting these milestones are just the right steps, like you can really go really far with this.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.
Let's do a little dollars and cents.
Dollar bills, y'all.
All right, we're going to make this real basic today.
I like basic.
The rule of 72. Some people are going to know exactly what I'm talking about, but if you don't know, this is a simple way to do the math on years it takes to double your money. So let's give an example. So when you use 72, you divide it by the interest rate interest rate that you think you're going to get, and that equals the years it takes to double your money. So for example, if you're going to get a 3% rate of return, say you're sitting at a CD in a bank and you're like, well, how long would it take me to double my money if I had 100,000 earning 3%? It'd take you 24 years. You take 72 divided by 3%, 24 years. Saying, and go on, I'll give you a couple more examples. So if you have 6% rate of return, 72 divided by 6% rate of return, 12 years, right? And as the return gets up, so it's a simple way. If you're sitting there as a goal, you're like, hey, I want to go from 100,000 to 200,000. What rate of return do I need to get it in 6 years or whatever it might be? And you can also do the reverse version of that. So if you want to figure out what rate of return you need, is 72 divided by the years. So, if you do 72 divided by 10, so you're like, hey, I want to double my money every 10 years. You need at least average 7.2% as an average rate of return. And that you would do that every 10 years.
That also shows the power of growth-oriented investing. If you leave your money in safe CDs your whole life, which I've had clients do that, and they still, I'm not saying they still have a significant amount of money. It just common trait. I think we're going to talk about this. Yes. I don't want to overstep. No, overstep. Yeah, cool. Go with it.
Common traits of people millionaires. That have millionaires are definitely one, they have high risk tolerance.
It was number one, high risk tolerance. Self-made millionaires consistently score higher on risk tolerance compared to general population. That's Nature Study and Business Insider. But I think that's because and I'll get into more later, it's the long-term thinking. It's like, yes, my accounts are down right now, but I'm not worried about what they're at now.
This is why it's important. If you're going to invest, you need to have an emergency fund, because there's going to be times emotionally you feel like you need to take the money out of the market or the market's moving all over. But if you have that emergency fund, you're like, hey, I've got 6 months ready cash, so I can be patient with this money over here. That's why it's so important to not go right to step 3 of investing, because if all of a sudden, things get emotional.
Cole, you can vouch for this. Yeah. I am very calculated with risk. I don't gamble. I like the emergency savings there. But when it comes to the market, I let that thing fly like a kite. I'm like, it'll come back.
Because long term, it's I would say one of the best ways to passively get really good rates of return, or get, to where you can speed up these timelines.
Yes.
Right now, yes, there are going to be any short time periods where you hear people, oh man, I don't want to lose everything in that, in the stock market. The only time you lose is when you sell.
I say that all the time. You can't lose it unless you sell it. Then you cannot gain back because you still own the same amount. They're just not what they're worth yesterday. They will be worth that again. Just wait.
And that it's a commonality across our book of business. Yes. I would tell you the equity to fixed income ratio for our higher net worth clients, it's significantly more equities across the board. They're more aggressive.
Yes, they're in aggressive accounts. Okay. Thank you for the rule of 72. We went off on a little bit there. Okay, so we hit milestone 1, 2, 3. We're on our way to $1 million. A milestone for $500,000, the momentum zone.
Yeah, this is, you're starting to really see meaningful dollars in returns these years, right? So, you think of a 8% growth year on $500,000, that's $40,000 in gains.
That's more than most people in the median income.
Yep. For a single individual. Yep. Yeah. So it's one of those you're really starting to accelerate at this point. And later, when we get to the $1 million milestone, I've got some wild math there that from 500,000 to $1 million. But I won't jump ahead. I'm excited
you're all
about that.
Jumping. I know. I think this is where you really reach confidence. You're like, I know what I'm doing. I can handle the waves. I can optimize my assets. I can leverage, some tax loss. I can really hone in.
You've seen the value of having the money invested, and you've grown to this point. And when you do have those really, really good compounding, like the last couple of years, we've seen, double digit returns in the equity market. And if you had 500,000, 300, 400, 500,000 invested, you're seeing significant dollar returns. Mm-hmm. So you're really starting to commit. I think you see the commitment to the long-term investing, really the meter starts to really ratchet up. People are like, yep, I'm committed to this strategy.
Because they see the compound factors.
Once you get here, and this is a tough milestone to get to, but once you get here, you'll emotionally be more sound at this point, committed to your long-term strategy.
And I feel like just saying this, just because you're here, you're not done yet, right? We don't want to start like, okay, well, I have $500,000 and I'm good. This is where you can really accelerate that growth. This is where we get to that millionaire status, liquid millionaire. So that brings me to milestone 5, liquid millionaire. I want you to go into the liquid part, Cole.
Yeah. And again,
huge difference.
Yeah, we were talking about this, off camera, because I think so many people's, opinions of net worth, a lot of it is their equity in their home or their real estate. And there's a difference between having $300,000 of equity in your house and $300,000 in the bank or in the stock market, right? Is because that equity in your home, to ever realize that, you have to sell your home, right? And most of the time people are going to need a home. So a lot of times that equity just rolls into the next home.
Yes.
And
you're not downsizing usually.
Yeah, you might take some out at a sale or you say, no, I have $300,000 equity, but I'm never moving. Well, that's great, but you're not getting, that you can't really access that unless you sell that.
Same with a business owner. Like if everything they have is in the business, so there's a big difference between your net worth is your asset minus your liabilities. That's your net worth, but this is liquid millionaire, meaning you can access the funds today.
Yep. And to get to that liquid, and that's where we say this stage, it's really a liquid net worth. So that's stocks, cash, mutual funds, whatever it might be, something that you can take,
sell
Bitcoin,
today.
You can take
Bitcoin memes
and you can liquidate, turn it to cash, and you could buy something today. That's when we say liquid, liquid millionaire.
And liquidity gives you like options, speed. Like, you can just make quick decisions and safety decisions versus if it's all tied up in your home. And we're not saying you're not a millionaire. If you own $1 million home, there's no debt. Yes, you're a millionaire net worth wise, but we're just saying liquid net worth. Yeah.
And this is, I want to go back to my hypothetical, where I was talking, we talked about the $500,000 mark, the $1 million milestone. So in my hypothetical, again, I started in 1995, $10,000, and all I did was show $400 a month all the way through. I did 30 years total, but it took longer than I expected to get. And I'm using the S&P 500 index. So you were investing in the S&P 500.
Putting 400, same situation earlier.
Yep. So it took you till 2020 to get to, it was 500 at the end of 2020. In my scenario, was $576,000.
Pretty good.
But so that's, 25 years actually to get there. Now you did see a extreme amount of volatility. You saw COVID, you saw the financial crisis, you saw the tech bubble.
What was COVID?
Through all that. But what I want to go back, and I think what's shocking, it took you 25 years to get to $500,000. It took you 5 more years after that to get to $1 million. So at the end of 2025, which we are today, August 31st, 2025, you would add $1,092,000. So
isn't that crazy? 5 years compared to the 20.
That's that compounding effect. As you get to 500,000, right? The numbers start to get so much more big, so much larger, and it really exaggerates, in that. And I want to put this back into context of in this scenario. So I'm going from 1995 to 2025. You started with 10,000. You put $4,800 in a year. Your total investment, your total dollars out of pocket was $153,600. So you committed that dollar amount.
That's almost what you put in.
That's maybe 1 year's salary. Yeah. If you're a couple making $150,000, you committed over that 30-year period, and you got to $1,092,000. So that's the power of consistent saving, being invested for the long term and
not selling out.
Yes.
But say that again. That was what percentage of the income for?
So what I was using is, I just looked up the median or the average incomes for a married couple. And it ranges depending on the area that you're in between 90 to 110,000. Mm-hmm. So if you say, what is $4,800 in percentage to savings rate? If you're making 90,000 as a couple, it's 5.33%. So you're saving 5% of your income. If you're making 110,000 for your, married income, it's 4.36%. So we're asking you to commit to 4.36% of your income.
Now, this is where I'm going with this. Now, imagine if you put 15% away every year.
We're saying a really small.
Yes, which we always try to get people to that 15% range, depending on their income. But think about that. Like, you're only putting $400 a month away. I think the average car payment right now is like $900 or something crazy. It's a lot.
I was trying to show a scenario that is realistic, that most people
can commit to.
If they are disciplined, right?
Yes.
They might have to. It might take them a couple years to do a couple of those things to get to there. But if they are disciplined, most people can do this if they want to. They set their mind to it.
And that's what I'm going with. We're not asking. I mean, I feel like some people, when they hear investing, they think, well, I don't have money to invest. You're talking about 4 to 5% of someone's income. Like that's not just,
committing to a systematic investment.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Milestone 6, investment, outpace income. We're there. We are there. We're $1 million.
This is the freedom trigger. Your money makes more money than your job.
Isn't that crazy when you think about that? And that's why you want to pay yourself first, right? That's why you want to invest, to get to this point where you can stop working because you want to, not because you have to. And we talk about that all the time.
I love this. You showed so if you have 1,250,000 and you're making an 8% rate of return, that's $100,000 a year in growth. So that average income, I was talking between 90 and 100, 110,000, you're replacing that at that point. Now, some years, if you invested last year, and you were in the equity market, you made 18%, 20%. You start to look at those numbers. Now, yes, there's going to be years where you go back, but that's where you get to a point where, hey, it's realistic for me. And really the long-term goal, if you're saving, is at some point I want to replace my income because I don't want to work.
Yes. And I really want to get back to your illustration we've been using is you're not using someone making $500,000 a year.
No.
You know what I mean? We are talking to the average income person. This is obtainable for anyone. And I think this is interesting too. Only 18% of millionaires ever fully retire at this stage, meaning once they hit $1 million, only 18 are like, okay, that's it. I've got there. I'm it. My income's they're still working and growing. Like, I think most just choose to work differently and do maybe more things they like. But this is really where you sit down, you envision, what do I want to do in retirement and what's going to get me there? It's these little steps, and it's emotional stability to not overreact over market swings, be patient from that 500,000 mark for 20 years. It's just calculated risk. It's all the things.
I found this really interesting. You pulled up the traits of the millionaires. Can we talk about that again?
Let's just go
I want to go
now.
through those because I think you started rattling them off. I'm like, yep.
Okay,
makes
this
sense.
is research back. This isn't my opinion. This is a combination of the Millionaire Study, 6 Millionaire Traits, Investopedia, and Forbes. Okay. So number 1, high risk tolerance. Self-made millionaires consistently score higher on risk tolerance compared to the general population.
And really think of this as two factors to that. I'll say, 1, higher risk, higher reward, right? Mm-hmm. The more risk you're willing to take, generally the higher rate of return you're going to get, or you have the opportunity to get for taking that risk. But on the other side, they also have access to other dollars that maybe are not invested, right? So it's easier to take more risk when you have emergency savings. You have all your kind of ducks in a row. You've done a budget. You've done this. It's like, hey, I don't need this money right now.
It's a foundation.
I can let it sit and grow.
Absolutely. Number 2, emotional stability. Wealthy individuals, especially self-made, which are mostly self-made, tend to be less anxious and less reactive and more emotionally regulated.
Reactionary decisions, to
in
politics.
Life.
Yeah, in life, but just in think of investing things that come up like politics, right? If you're a person, the government's been shut down for 7 days as of today. If you were a person 2 weeks ago, like, oh, I'm freaking out because the government's going to shut down. The market's been up since the government shut. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, but it tells you is like that's emotion is not a great strategy to invest, right? You should not invest or let the strings, or same thing with anytime we start dealing with politics. It's like there's always going to be a good and bad on whatever side you stand on, but it's never a great way to make all your investment decisions based on some of those outcomes.
Number 3, high follow through, meaning like traits like self-discipline, organized, persistent are strongly correlated with millionaire status. I would say this to me is like number 1.
Persistence is
persistent
very
and organized.
Very, very relevant. I think if you're and I think relating it to like attaining something, right? If you're very persistent and like, I'm going this direction, get on board or not. And that's a mindset
and
thing.
this brings me back to when I said, when you say, hey, let's get you to $1 million, and people are like, oh, I can never get there. No, you can. You absolutely can. And you got to be able to see it.
And that's really what we try to do, is change people's mindsets around money. A lot of times when we do get that reaction is like, no, this is, we can do this. Like we can do this, no doubt.
If we put this away and we pay this down, yes. Number 4, openness to learning and new experience. Millionaires score higher on openness, mean they are curious, adaptable, and willing to learn.
Curiosity is a very common trait that I see. And again, I'm always relating back to my clientele of people that are...
I guess he just has the best clients.
Yeah. Well, they're all very curious, or they were curious in their field that got them to their net worth, right? Whatever income they made or business they started, the curiosity took them there.
Yes, absolutely.
And ambition, right? So they were all ambitious.
Well, I feel like the more you understand, the more comfortable you are with the market, what you're in, how it works statistically.
It's easier to take risks when you understand it, right?
Absolutely.
If you're taking a risk and you don't understand it, is normally the people that panic because they just don't look at it from a wider lens. It's a very narrowed lens, but they only know a very few minute details.
Okay, number 5, optimistic and future oriented. Self-made millionaires are measurably more optimistic than the general population, and with a strong belief in their future outcomes, meaning they believe their future is going to be positive.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of that mindset thing. They're positive, optimistic. And again, some people are like, well, I have a negative net worth. That's easy to be optimistic when you have $1 million net worth.
Hey,
but they all started somewhere too.
Yes. Yep. Again, most millionaires started with something negative. They weren't born into being a millionaire. Okay. 6, frugal and living below means. I think that's super obvious. Like you can't invest and keep up if you're house poor.
Yeah. Again, it's that classic
keeping up with the
story.
Joneses.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses is a story where I've seen the guy that's worth $10 million and he pulls up in a 1995 Chevy pickup. I'm like, hey, I mean, there's a reason he's got.
But we have a client very wealthy, and he always shows up in his truck. I'm like, oh my, he could go buy
many trucks over
in cash, and he just pulls up. He does not care what anyone thinks. He is just.
I think material items become, like, as your net worth grows and grows, material items is less important. Yeah, people want to have nice stuff, but you'll find the
that's
real
not
true
what's
value.
really making you happy. I will say this: it's interesting because you've been keeping up with the Jones has been a thing. I mean, you even hear older gen. It is always going to be a thing. It's on different levels with social media and all that, but it's always going to be there.
Yep.
Okay, 7, strategic long-term thinking. We covered that. Like they are thinking long-term horizon.
Always.
They're not. 8, strong personal accountability. They have extreme ownership in their life.
I love, that's one of
good. Cole's like
extreme ownership is one of the things. I think that's always the first, whether it's, running a business or, balancing your budget. Okay. It's having ownership on it.
Absolutely. And that's the same with life's either happening to me or for me. Yep. Right. Same like, oh, I don't know where my money's going, or I absolutely know where every dime's going and I'm going to make it work for me. 2 different mindsets. Anyways, I love this one because I'm going to say this. I say this to my 8-year-old. You are who you surround yourself with. This is number 9, deliberate social circles and network leverage. Millionaires tend to intentionally surround themselves with other ambitious, knowledgeable people and opportunities.
I've always thought this and things. How do you get in rooms of people that are smarter than you, or surround yourself with people that are smarter? It's the same concept as like, it's a compounding effect of
you want to be like them.
Yes. You want the traits, and not everyone, that's a millionaire is a good person or not, but a lot of times there is some commonality.
They're hardworking, they're disciplined. Yep. There's something about them.
Yep.
I will say this, if you did not listen to our last episode, Eddie is the primary. I was like, he is smarter than me. These are the people I want to be when I'm older. Like I felt.
How do you get around Eddie Thompson more often?
Yes. That is number 9 for me. And finally, number 10, bias towards action. They act on opportunities, take initiative, and they basically don't wait for perfect conditions. It doesn't matter what's going on. They act. There's action towards their goals.
Yep. They're again, like so many of these are mindset. Right. And they have these common mindsets. So like, I'm going here, I'm going to make this happen. Like, how do we make this happen? Here's the steps I need to do. Okay. I'm going to be disciplined and get it done.
None of those were, they inherited $1 million.
Yeah.
They make $1 million. There are definitely people who have very high incomes that obviously are investing and making a lot of money, but there's also people with high incomes that are burning a hole through their pocket. Like, it doesn't matter. I think the average millionaires, teachers are still like top 5. Let's think about that. Teachers, bless you guys need more money in your pockets. But
Agreed.
But you know what I'm saying? It's not about the flashy things. It's really the consistency. And that brings us to milestone 7, a multimillionaire in sustaining wealth. Woohoo!
Yeah, you've entered a different game. This is, you're more, preserving your wealth.
Legacy planning.
More strategy here, right? As now it's like, okay, I've attained, multi-million-dollar status. Now it's, let's dig deeper.
We're not thinking about just us. We're thinking about grandkids, like long-term, thinking way above your lifetime, or how can we help others, or, how can we enjoy this?
I think a big piece in this is people start to look at their legacy, or, hey, what do I want to leave to family? And this is a really important stage to start to really teach your, whether it's your children, your grandchildren, about the value of money. And we talked about this with Eddie.
I was just going to say, Eddie, we're referencing.
And this is where people get in this stage, and that's where very, very important, I think, as if you want the success, your financial success to continue in your family beyond you, it's very important to educate, have those conversations, because stats will say it doesn't carry on very well.
70% of wealthy families lose it by the second generation and 90% by the third. So it's so interesting when people...
Same thing with businesses. That happens where it's family-owned businesses. First, second, third generation, very rarely does ever go to the third generation.
I think it's because, and this is opinion, there's no... that I'm not saying that generation, but people didn't talk about their wealth. Like, I just had a client... She passed away. She was elder. She was amazing with money, long-term investing. And she has passed it to multi-family members. And you can tell some know, like, want to invest, some want to spend it, but you can tell they never talked about it. So, like, I don't know what she wanted me to do with these funds. And I'm like, personally, obviously, I'm like, she would probably want you to grow them for your future self. But they didn't talk about it. You know what I mean? There was no estate planning together. It was just assumed they would inherit this. And that was it. It kind of ended there.
There's such a difference. And I can see it firsthand of people that inherit the money or money that's given to them, right? And they didn't have to go through. There's a value in going to that grind stage.
Yes.
There's so much value of that you never see. I compare it as, like, we're both athletes. Think of like that person. You were. There's a lot of people that are better athletes than me. I'll be the first to admit that.
I have to say this real quick. Cole was just you just went and got your Peacock Award.
Yeah.
What was it?
No, I was elected into the Upper Iowa Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Hall of Fame. That's the word I was looking for. Let's go. Sorry, go on.
But what I was getting back to is I relate that to, think of the kid that was, let's use a football player. He was a 5-star recruit when he was a freshman in high school, and he knew he was going to be, like, he just had all the attributes, everything from day one. But you have the other kid that grinded behind the scenes, and in the back end, one ends up in the NFL, one doesn't, right? One had the value of that grind, discipline, all from the, versus physically, one was gifted more, right? God does pick, and there are people that are just physically better at stuff.
They're above 6
but
feet.
everyone gets to control their discipline, hard work.
Yes.
And I think we were talking our quote at the end of the day. Tom Brady's a prime example of that for at the end of the podcast. So,
and that's why I love this episode, is because, again, a millionaire is an average person. And when I say average, I'm not saying that in a negative. I'm an average human being, superior athlete over Cole, but average human being. But I'm saying is, these are just little changes and milestones. I promise you, if you want to reach a million, even more, it's definitely obtainable. Would you not agree?
I completely agree.
And I think it's just saying, okay, where are we at? If you're Luke and Bailey, umpteen years ago, and you have a negative net worth, that's okay. That's just where you're starting. Now let's make the plan and, like, let's measure it. Anything measurable you can achieve. I always say that if you're just kind of hoping it's going to happen, I'm not saying it doesn't, but when you're measuring it and tracing it, you're fully engaged in the process.
Couldn't agree more. Pick a milestone, pick a timeline, and get going, right? Pick one of those traits that we talked about, throughout. Not everyone's gonna knock it. This is the downfall with this, is, like, it takes a while.
It's behavior.
Yes, and I think
it's your marshmallow theory.
I always think consistency is going to be, if you were to pick or prioritize one thing that you can do, is probably consistency and being frugal, right? Those, especially from the beginning.
I want to say this too. Frugal is not, I don't enjoy life. I think that is such, it's just like, again, budget is not restricting. Like, I don't ever feel, I'm not saying there isn't points where I felt restricted, but it's just knowing, and frugal just means I'm intentional. Does this purchase or what I'm doing with my life align where I want to go? You know what I mean?
And you can't have it both ways. You can't complain and then, not do some of the
We're
the
very
steps to get
big
there.
ownership people,
Yeah.
so it's really hard when people, it must be nice. Well,
Yeah.
actually, it sucked having to do X, Y, Z, to be honest. But anyways, we believe in you. Know your milestone. A couple things outside of this. Cole, I just want to congratulate you. Even though Cole thinks he's 25 for some reason, he's 33, put him on the spot. He top 10 under 40. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a...
2 awards in 1 week.
God was like, testing me.
What do you think that was?
I appreciate the recognition. I always do, but I struggle like with people saying,
Recognition?
"Oh, good job." I'm like,
Congrats.
I got a lot of I'm going to reflect, and my default is I have a ton of super amazing people around me. So that's
here's my question for anyone wanting to win awards: how do you surround yourself with amazing people?
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh, burner! I didn't even prepare him.
It's one, you got to get yourself in different rooms and uncomfortable situations to meet people, right? That's first and foremost. But, I think finding people, if you've got traits that you think are valuable, try to find those traits in people and, try to align with them. Relationships, whether it's, business relationships or mentorship or people you do business with, doesn't matter.
And they do things you value the way they do it, how they do it.
And pick a good spouse. It always makes everything else in life much easier is if you have a spouse that you're truly a teammate with. And that was one thing I said in my Hall of Fame speech. And I truly,
you outkicked your coverage.
Yeah. Oh, completely.
I love that saying.
Yeah, that's like a classic football line.
No, but congratulations.
Thank you.
And let's make it a great rest of the year.
To be successful at anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to do what most people aren't: consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. No shortcuts. Tom Brady.
Woo, go Cubs.
You've been listening to How to Money with Cole & Cole, the podcast of Full Swing Financial Planning. To learn more, visit their website at www.fullswingfinancial.com and follow them on Facebook and LinkedIn.
For now, I'm Cole,
I'm Bailey.
And I'm Cole.
and we'll see you on the greens.
Security and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.